Hi guys, I was going to make a quick tutorial on how to show you how to do these isometric drawings. Isometric means equal measure. Iso typically means equal, and so when we talk about isometric, it means that we have equal measure. Typically when we have an isometric drawing, we have three adjacent faces on the cube that will share a single point. The edges converge at one point will appear as 120-degree angles or 30 degrees from the horizon line. So you'll see your drawings pointed up at a 30-degree angle, and they will show 120-degree angles on where the edges converge. These three edges represent height, width, and depth. So you'll see that we have height, we have width, and we have depth. So typically what that means, our isometric drawings are indeed three-dimensional. They have a front, right side view, and top view in this order. Sometimes it can be switched a little bit to where we have the left, front, and top. View selections, recommendations for how to select the front view. So when we look for the front view, which is this view in our isometric, this will be more important when we go to orthographic projections. You look for the most natural position or use. You show best shape and characteristic contours. Longest dimensions and fewest hidden lines. Most stable and natural position. So here is your best front view here, because it is the longest. This is obviously the most natural and stable position. It shows the best contour and shape. So I'm going to teach you how to use, so some people need technique to learn how to do isometric drawings. If you are like me, then you need the box method if you're trying to do, to maintain proportions and things like that. Some people don't need that, and if you can draw an isometric drawing to scale and have the correct proportions and such, I am all for you doing it without the box method. But if you're like me, you might need the box method. So it's just a sketching technique. It starts with a sketcher envisioning an object inside an imaginary box. So like, for example, this object's inside an imaginary box. It helps with proportions and estimating size, distance, angles, things like that. There's also a PowerPoint included in your assignment that goes over how to sketch circles if you want to do that. So on example 1, we're going to sketch this object. And so to do that, we're going to, step 1, lay out the box that will contain the imaginary isometric view using points and construction lines. Let me just make sure we're... So I'm going to go ahead and, draw a point, and this is where I'll start my drawings. I can see that my object is 2.5 wide and it's 3 tall. So I'm just looking for overall height, width, and depth to draw my object. So it is 1.5 deep and 3 high. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3 squares, and I'm going to go over 1.5. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in the length or the width. I'm going to go that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 back. And I've got I'm just going to take a ruler right here. And I'm going to project that point back here. And I'm just going to lightly draw these lines. You want to draw these lightly because they're going to be construction lines. These construction lines are used to help guide the drawing process. Those construction lines are in red in the PowerPoint. They're not meant to be part of the object. They're just used to help with proportions drawing. So they're just used to help guide the drawing. Okay, so now step 2, we're going to use points and construction lines to identify corners and edges of object faces that occur on the box's surface. So, for example, right in here, this is where that would, this detail right here, the top would touch, and it would go, it looks like 1, 2, 3. And so 1, 2, 3, and we've drawn 2 points there. This portion would also touch the boxes outside, and that goes up 1, 2. It goes up, 1.5. And so I'm just going to go ahead and put those in. Okay. And so I've put those in, and now I'm just going to add in those lines. So it goes to here and to here. For this particular detail, I'm going to connect these 2 points. And now I'm going to go ahead and I added them, those 2 points. Now I'm just going to, now I have like my object, so I'm going to go in and darken in what we call object lines, and those are things that actually are, you know, a part of the object. And I'm having a hard time using my ruler with my webcam set up right here, so my lines aren't as straight as they should be. You all can use any type of straight edge that you have at home to draw these. It doesn't have to be a ruler. We're not measuring anything right now. But you can use like a hardback book, textbook, anything that would give you that straight edge. So I've done that. Okay, and then you would add in inside faces, and in this case there are no inside faces. So our 4th step is to add some tonal shading. And so the light source is coming from up here. And so like right here, it would be on our drawing. And so it would touch this face. The light would shine on this face, so those are going to be light. But these would not, these sides right here, would not get that, so I'm going to shade them. Now guys, I'm not going to be grading too much on shading. You know, just that you didn't make your entire object like this dark, you know, gray color with your pencil, and that you actually did apply the shading. You if you're wanting to get fancy, you can add some cross-hatching lines on the darkest faces. But I do grade if you did add shading, because this is a three-dimensional object and we shade three-dimensional drawings. I'm sorry, this is a three-dimensional drawing. We shade them to make them look more realistic. So we'll do one more example. Determine the overall dimensions of this object, and if we look at it, it is going to be 3 units wide, so 3 blocks wide, 2 units tall, and 2 units deep. Use points and construction lines to lay out the box. So, I'm going to go ahead and put a little point right here, go over, and I might have, well, I can still do it. So it was 2 deep, 2 tall, and 3 wide. And so again, I'm going to try to lightly draw these construction lines to help guide the process, but I'm terrible with drawing light lines because I like to bear down on my pencils too hard. And so just draw your box. And then we're going to use points and construction lines to identify corners and edges of object faces that occur on the surface of the box. Okay, so if we look right here, there's an outside face, here's an outside face, and up here would be an outside face on that box. So we're going to go ahead and add those in. So here are 2 right here. Here's 1 right here. And it may be easier to start with points and draw in lines. Since this is a very simple object, I just went ahead and drew in the outside faces. Then your third step, actually we're still on step 2. Make it a little darker. And I did that to begin with. Oops. Technically, we're not supposed to erase construction lines, but I feel like if it helps the process, then go for it. I'm not going to count off for that. Okay, and then our third is to draw those inside faces. So we're going to use points and construction lines to identify corners and edges of the object face. So points, and so here's a point that we're going to take back. And take that back, and that back, and that back. Just one, because that's one block. These will go down. These will go back. Add in those details, those lines. We have an object. And so now we're just going to go ahead and darken that in. Okay, and then we're going to shade these in. Again, our light source is like right in here. It's going to hit right in here, and so we're just going to shade in. And now we have our object. So guys, you are to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you have 6 drawings to draw on an isometric sheet of paper.